Alright, what's up guys? Nolan here. This is another attempt. If any of you guys have been watching the last few videos I've posted, then this is a reoccurring topic. I'm going to be trying as many formats as I possibly can of all of the different kind of footage and teaching points and things like that that we have of Broken Arrow to try and perfect a teaching method or maybe just a teaching system for Broken Arrow. Like what videos work for what kind of content in particular should I be doing around gameplay. Those that don't know, the gameplay videos that I've posted where there isn't commentary, of which, if you've been watching that, you would recognize this game. This is the Fight in the Shade game, but it's recorded without me really commentating much. I might speak up a little bit, and then towards the end of the video, I talk. Because these recordings are with my mic on, I just wasn't talking. I was more interested in just playing the game, and then if I wanted to say something, then I would say something. Otherwise, I just wanted to play the game and not really talk over it. So this is me now talking over it. I'm going to try and think about what I was thinking in the game. I'm going to try and explain what I was doing in the game 5 months ago. So this test was in November. It's now March 18th when I'm recording this. I kind of had the same ideas for most maps. I had the same plans based off the deck, basically. If I had a certain deck, I was doing a certain thing. It was just based off of where I was going. So I'm going to try and explain what I can about what I'm doing in as much detail as I can while it's happening. Personally, I think that this is a bit more confusing than some other ideas that I have. And in fact, I think it might even be more confusing than you just watching the gameplay and then seeing for yourselves, oh, he put the unit there, he did that. And then, if you want to know why I chose what unit and stuff like that, then there's deck videos, then there's how to use certain units videos, things like that. So that's why I was thinking there might be something other. But some other way of doing this. But a lot of people are specifically asking for commentary over gameplay. Literally, actually, with today's video, with my moment breakdown, my key moment breakdown video, with something like this. So we're gonna go through the game and I'm gonna try and explain my thoughts here. So I actually went a little bit too fast, so that was basically the concept. This is the first video, so we'll break it down a little bit. I'll go back to the beginning of the video. Have I placed any units at all yet? Nope. All right, so we'll start from here at, well, there's no timer, but the text just went away from something about air combat. I'm opening up the recon tab. All right, so my opener with this deck, this should be an armored marine deck, usually consists of me putting up 2 recon squads, which are those VMF squads with their high caliber rifles. I think it's a 14.5 or something like that. It's basically like the Russian 50 cal. It's heavier than 50 cal, but whatever, the ASVK, whatever it was that popped up there. Those things mince light vehicles, helicopters, and infantry. They are fantastic. On top of having the recon ability, on top of being able to see further. So I think what I'm doing here is I'm setting up those initial recon squads. I'm going to push those up. And then I try to float as many points as I can while having somewhat of a sustained front. So there isn't really any pushing units here because I can't really afford it in this deck. I can, instead of having the supplies or instead of having the AA or something like that, I could have gotten some armadas or something like that, but I think what I'm doing here is I'm more feeling out what's going on with the enemy, get my units up to the front, and then figure out what's actually waiting for me over there, figure out where I can get through with my push, and then do it that way. And then actually, get through with the push. But something to get through with the push that's absolutely required there is eyes and AA. So we got our eyes out with the recon, and we're going to have our AA there, or at least we're setting up there with the Beryusa to hopefully set up for, I would think, an S300. I think I used an S350. And there's my teammate nuking off the bat, which I don't think it actually got anything. Something to note here, too, which I will be talking about in my air-to-air video, and I have another video idea talking about the beginning of games. Putting out a plane late and how to treat planes at the beginning of games and things like that. There's tactics to it, so trust me, that's going to go into pretty deep detail there. If there's a couple of planes hanging out after you know, a full 30 seconds or so of fighting, it's usually a good idea to send specifically a ASF fighter after them, something that has a bunch of different air-to-air missiles, because you'll most likely clean them up. So pushing my 4 VMF squads up to the front. If they're going to push with light vehicles, helicopters, or infantry, those things will mince them, and we get to see further, and you get a bit of extra range when they're up in those high buildings. So I think that was the tactic that I was going with. Let's just spread out the sniper squads, have a little bit of AA with the Iglas there, well, man pads, some light AA, and I did just call in 2 T-15s to actually get the work done. So this isn't too advanced of a setup. You've got your, you know, your main pushing force. Those 2 T-15s are going to be able to do plenty. If I were to spread those VMF out and get a good view, we already got some Humvees popping up. Can figure out some targets, try and dodge the ATGMs. I'm probably thinking in my mind right now, if this was real-time Nolan, where the hell is my teammate on my right? That's probably what I'm thinking. I'm probably thinking, should I retreat? And I'm probably thinking, maybe not yet. It's still early. I've got my Barrioses in the back. If they actually had anything pushing that was a significant threat, chances are I'd be able to handle it at this point because my T-15s aren't up here yet. So if they had something heavier, I probably won't see it for still some time, and then by that time, my T-15s should be here, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So based off of what I've seen, not going to worry about it too much. I'll hang out, see what happens, and it seems like they're doing the usual, which is people put infantry up in these buildings, which my 50 cals should be making quick work of. I probably, if I thought I was playing a more advanced enemy, probably would move those Iglas. If this was me playing right now, I definitely would move those Iglas. And I'm just seeing all those vehicles and just thinking lunchtime for my BMF. Because that's 4 squads, so that's 4 50 cals. So just absolute lunchtime for all that stuff. 50 cal teams don't care about you. Humvees definitely don't care about you. That was an LVTP. That was what you would consider an armored vehicle, but not when you've got 4 of these heavy 50 cals, because they're just, like, I don't know why, but these things are just fun to just snipe and just eat everything. Yeah, I don't care what I'm fighting at the moment. It's gonna die. Probably thinking, can I get my other infantry squad up there somewhere? That would have been a sneaky bomber if he had actually done it correctly. Instead of spending those 600, 700 points, whatever that ended up being for that B2, or sorry, B1 bomber, if he had gotten some, you know, F-15s or whatever, I would have lost my 2 VMF squads on the left, for sure. But for some reason, he decided to do that. I'm not really sure why. You'll notice these enemies are not very experienced, as I almost lose a helicopter there. But I forgot I called it up, so... Something that I don't do enough is explain that I'm not good at RTS games. I just know Broken Arrow and have thousands of hours in them. So so you guys will see from time to time my problems come from an actual, like, micro level. So I misjudge when to click what buttons and when. Little things like that, or I get distracted. I pay too much attention at the fine detail of things when I should be backing out, not realizing, like, hey, when's the last time I saw that plane? It's probably going to be back by now, stuff like that. So this is a bit of gameplay that this was like my bread and butter. So find out what's in front of me. If it's infantry, bring up some T-15s and let them absolutely munch. Now that longbow is obviously a threat, so I want to make sure I keep some buildings between me and that longbow, and I want to see if I can get it in closer. Those tow teams can be a problem. So now, yep, there we go. So with that T-15 going red, he's going to start to miss. It's going to be a bit of a panic show. We're going to smoke, see if we can get some distance from that, because we did enough damage, and for some reason they're dead. I actually don't know if my sniper team was still shooting at them or what, but those guys died. I'm not sure what exactly did kill them. One of them did die. They didn't exit the building because the skull popped up. And we've got that longbow over there somewhere that I'm not quite sure where it is. So me pulling back, getting that smoke back, getting some of that ammunition back, and then re-attacking the situation is going to put me in a better position to get that longbow. and I want to see exactly what kind of trouble I can get into it. And we already saw also that he is sending the seaplane up, so I want to make sure that my Baryusa on the left there is in a good position to have as much view distance as possible between anything that might be coming at my S350 now that I have that up there, because that's a pretty expensive anti-air. And we know that he likes to bomb whoever this is on the other side, because he brought up the B1, and there they are putting a drone up, so we know they're going to want to use some planes, so we got to watch out for that. I think, because I've already seen this gameplay, I think that this was when that bug was still happening where supply depots were not being hidden as well as they should have been, or there was some kind of bug that they were much easier to be seen. So pretty much anytime you put up a drone, last test was a guarantee that you were going to see some supplies, and then you could just hit the supplies. This guy, obviously, I think, yeah, they already sent the recon out. So this guy, he's got some artillery in the back, so he's supply hunting there. And that becomes a little bit of a problem because it's very difficult to hide supplies over here. I would have needed to put it over on the right. A little bit of testing there just to see what can and can't be seen. I think I'm okay with, in this moment, if this was real-time Nolan back in November, I think I was basically okay with it. I was more worried about taking the ground in front of me than what might be happening above me, because he still wasn't able to kill that Baryusa, and that S350 should be able to take care of whatever was above. Unfortunately, it didn't in that case. That plane actually ate. Oh, he's sending it back? That's dumb. Yeah. So real-time Nolan's probably thinking this guy doesn't actually know what he's doing. He knows what the units do. He knows what seed is. He knows what a F-15 is. But he doesn't know really much else. Because that was on a sliver of health. If that Baryusa had even hit a rope of its shots, that thing would have died. And obviously hunting with artillery, so very basic tactic from most newer players. See some stuff, shoot some artillery at it. Usually in these situations they don't move them, so Tu-22 out. Methinks he is right now moving those artillery pieces. Obviously move, because they're not going to end up killing them, but I just didn't think that was something that this person was going to do, this player was going to do. And because I didn't kill them, real-time Nolan is also probably thinking two things. One, he might have direct eyes on that S350 to know that I moved that S350, or he understands enough to move after shooting some artillery, even though he hasn't been countered up to that point. I was pretty confident that Tu-22 was actually going to kill those because he hadn't moved those artillery yet. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident that he has direct eyes on that S350, so now I get a little bit more worried about where my units are and what exactly I'm doing. And then it ends up dying because the what's it called? The supply depot actually blows up. Funny story, I pretty soon, or pretty whatever around this time during this test, I blew up some supplies right next to a S350 in a couple games, and it didn't do a single point of damage. It didn't even scare them. So I don't know what was going on with that, but it seemed like whenever my S350 was near stuff, they loved to die. Game plan here was just to buy time to earn some points, and obviously this player on the other team wanted to use some cruise missiles. Barry used to doing a very good job of intercepting because I put it in a open position to be able to see those coming in. Had the infantry coming up, especially when they're in the open. Just easy work for the T-15s, but they did land a couple of those AT-4s or whatever they have as airborne on one of them, so I do not want them to get a mobility kill. I don't want to lose a T-15 right now, so I'm backing them up. Did a bunch of damage, backing them up. Also going through probably real-time Nolan's head right now is, where's that longbow? Can I suck in that longbow? And about this time, I come to the conclusion that I'm fighting at least two players, because nobody can have that many points available unless that B1 stayed up in the air this whole time. They just can't have that many points available. And this is a pretty good example of what really good interception will look like, because the Baryusa did a good job. But if you keep your camera at the right angle, you'll see those coming. You just make sure you move out of the way, you'll be good to go. Unfortunately, my losses are still pretty heavy because I did lose an S350. So that's unfortunate. But right now I'm probably thinking, okay, keep the T-15s alive. Let's keep them distracted. They want to counter Artie. They want to counter my AA because they like using air. keep that in mind. Potential bait opportunity with both the T-15, potential bait opportunity with the AA. They know that's still alive. They got another B1 up there, unless he's got even more bombs because it didn't die yet. I want to think that that's two. I want to think that that's two B1s. And unfortunately, my teammate there, who doesn't seem to want to move anything up, wanted to use that Buratino and not move it, so it got punished. So right now, I'm still thinking game plan. Get recon out. All my recon's alive. All of my man pads are still alive somehow. Even the two in the back there after that supply depot got killed. Got my T-15s alive. I've got a few points saved. Real-time Nolan is probably thinking float points so that I can buy a plane. Nah. Probably not a good idea. Went with the AA. I've got the S300 coming up, but what I want to make sure I do is I make sure that I've got some Barriuses up there. So we got some more Barriuses that are coming up as well. Unfortunate timing there with the other seed plane. And the other Barrius gets taken out. If I had two of them, that would be fine. And if I had an S350, it would be fine. Also, if I had a plane, it might be able to hunt down that Prowler. Because what I haven't done at all is I have not probed their AA, which I might be able to do a little bit here with this Catran. But at this point, I'm not 100% certain that they don't have recon theme my units. It's possible there's a drone somewhere. You guys will see later in the game. They have Global Hawks over in the middle because common occurrence, teammates don't bring proper AA. So they pretty much just always had some Global Hawks going over there. So it's possible that those Global Hawks from one of the teammates on another flank was spotting my stuff. Or there's a sneaky infantry in there. So we see the longbow again. See if I can bait that in there. By this time, I can probably hide behind these buildings. We get a good idea of where the range is at, so I get a good idea of what kind of distance I can play with. If they're going to let me take a spot, let me take a spot. They're not pushing anything up on the ground, so that's, you know, free real estate for my T-15s. I think I'm also playing a little bit of cat and mouse in terms of eyes on supplies, so that's why I have so many down. Real-time Nolan's probably thinking, well, if I place this over here and they haven't seen it yet, then maybe I could place this over here. Probably playing a little bit of that game right now. Pantsier, at this time, real-time Nolan, as in March 18th Nolan, I would probably take the Pantsier out of my deck. It was really, really expensive, and when it did snipe helicopters, it was cool, but most of the time, all it did was get one shot by seed. So unless you're really on top of the micro, I don't think the Pantsier is a good idea. Now, that is the Pantsier that you get in the Marine deck, specifically. If they added the gun Pantsier with Motostrelky or something like that, maybe I'd still run that so you can have the guns. But that's the APS eating the first Hellfire, but not the second. So Longbow, Ripple Fires there, Hellfires, or at least shoots them very quickly. I'm actually not sure if it does Ripple Fire or not. I think I'm thinking a board game there. Absolute snipe from the Iglas in the back. I don't know where that came from. That seemed way too far for the Iglas. Every time I see that, and because I already edited and I posted this video before, every time I saw it, I'm like, how did that do that? That seemed very surprising that the Igla in the back there was able to snipe that. Another note with the APS, if you have a follow-up shot with your APS, or if you have a follow-up shot with your ATGMs, normally the APS will only stop the first round. So that's why if you double up ATGMs, or double lean up ATGMs is the way to go. And I think it's a bit of a opportunity here to take some ground because this guy decided to not put anything there. He wants to try and play the game of put a little bit of infantry out and then play the air game. I'll let him play that, but if I get into these buildings over here, I can use that to my advantage to keep me out of the view distance of the helicopter. And I think right now he knows that because I think he was moving that longbow back. But those LVTPs, I don't know where they were, but they're not going to be helpful. That's not going to stop. APS luckily ate a longbow from the back. They have several longbows up, so these guys like their air power. But one of the problems with the American Airborne, you don't have anything on the ground. And if I get in close, APS ate that Hellfire. It's not going to eat this one. Got lucky, didn't take too much damage, and then I was able to kill the Apache over there. So I'm hunting that artillery. It's taking some kills. It's taking some of my stuff away from me. I want to hunt that. So I want to try and keep a building in between me and the direct threat, which is that Apache. see if I can focus down those artillery pieces so I won't have to worry about them for a little while, and basically just take as many of these guys as I possibly can with me. At this point, I'm making a good amount of points too, so I think the longer that I wait, the more points that I'll gather. And then, guess what? More T-15s. The T-15 thing seems to be the most effective. What I definitely don't want to do right now is play any kind of sit back and wait game. That is the only thing that seems like would be a absolute worst case scenario against these guys. They really like their B1s. They really like their artillery. So I'm not going to sit back and just wait to get B1 or wait to get artillery all day. Need to try and find a way to get up in their face, and they'll fold, which they already have and which they will continue to do here pretty soon. I could have moved up another T-15 at this point. I could have focused on that, but I think it would have distracted me from doing the micro that I'm about to do right here. So I think it was more important for me to try and get this longbow out of there, because if I kill this, then that's what, 3? Is that 3 longbows down in the last couple of minutes? It's definitely at least 2. So that's 2 less to worry about, which are a pretty significant threat. For my T-15s, which was the main, subject of my gameplay, I think I actually made that guy leave by doing that. Right now he's, or back in November, he's probably about to go make a post on Reddit about how the T-15's overpowered, even though you decided to be a block away from it when it's in range with that 57mm. So, reminder, guys, T-15s, the T-15s are the strongest against infantry at a distance, helicopters, and vehicles when up close. So, infantry at a distance, and then helicopters and vehicles up close. Vehicles also include all vehicles, anything that moves with tractor wheels, including tanks. And the reason why it needs to be up close is so that it can use its 10 for the heavier vehicles and rate of fire for the helicopters. It is a beast with that 57mm. The Derevitsia 57mm, I'm pretty sure is the exact same gun. It was just a different round. And the Derevitsia is an AAP, so it's probably not the same range. If it is, that's pretty nutty. But the T-15 is just, it's a hero unit. It's an absolute fantastic unit. It can do a lot. But the biggest problem, like I mentioned in a short the other day, is most of the time, the people using it are good at the game, while the people that are dying from it are most likely bad. Because that's just, it seems to be the thing that pops up the most. Because people that know the T-15 is a good unit, even though it's like an APC, probably know the game, so they're probably good at it. And then the people that are really dying to it are probably bad because it's a tank. How do you kill tanks? ATGMs and other tanks. That's all you need to do. If you have ATGMs or other tanks, you will kill the T-15. End of story. What will definitely kill the T-15 are ATGMs from planes, which I think the F-16s that are going to be coming into the Striker group are going to be super effective. I think it's going to be really cool being able to basically just sweep through ground units with those Mavericks. The ATGM runs on planes are going to be historic whenever the Strikers come into the game. Doing a little bit of sniping with the BRM and the T-15. Fun fact, the BRM and the T-15 have the exact same ATGM, so when you pair them up, you get the extended recon range sight of the BRM, as well as the ATGMs of a T-15, but you do not have the armor of a T-15. So if you tag team them up with the T-15s, you extend your sight range a little bit, and along with that range, you can snipe a little bit with those ATGMs that are going to be the same anyway. So these, which are extremely deadly ATGMs too. So nice little tag team there, because it's I believe it's also cheaper than a T-15. So they're letting me take ground here. They seem to only want to use infantry, and what are the T-15s really good against? Infantry. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that ground, and you'll notice that although I had my my fun field trip there a little earlier, that's the edge of the map. That's where the capture point is. So that's all. That's as far as I need to go. So hold that ground, keep my front line going, keep my supplies going, my logistics going, and keep it up from there. If they hadn't have continued to push, I probably would be pushing to the right pretty soon. Actually, wait, I did push to the right. I'm remembering the gameplay, but actually that's a bit of a fast forward. I just even misremembered. Turns out what I was about to say is what I end up doing. So maybe I am pretty accurate with these post-game discussions. So yeah, you'll see me do what I was just about to say. So yeah, some of these are pretty accurate. But it just makes sense. I've captured my point here. There's nothing in front of me. I don't need to overextend. I don't need to go take the stuff in front of me. I have the better ground with the infantry that I have out there with those higher buildings. Have long sight lines, have my AA. I don't need to do anything over here, while my teammates seem to be in a spot of bother over on the right. So divert my attention over to the right a little bit, see if I can help them out by way of some cruise missiles from the Catran. And because I don't seem to need to do anything on the left, I will move my T-15s over there. Right now, what's going through my head would probably be point preservation. I would need a really good reason to spend points right now, if I had to guess. Because I have pretty much everything I need. I've got my AA, I've got recon out, I've got my pushing force. Try and get as many points as possible up in the back. And we got a seed run coming in. Was able to stop that. And there's the shoot, blanking on the name. The Panzer just loves to take massive amounts of damage. Now, it was a seed missile, but it just loves to take a massive amount of damage. And there's the primary issue with those prowlers is that they're slow. So usually they don't get anywhere in a hurry. And if you're in range of those S-300s, those things will one-shot the big missiles. So they only get 2 shots, but they love to one-shot. I love using those. So again, if this was me making the deck again today, I'd probably take the Panzer out of there. And I probably would have brought up some more bear uses. But I was probably thinking the same as well that day when I was playing this game. But I was worried about the longbows, so I wanted something to snipe the longbows. But I kind of didn't need it. I had my man pads. I had the territory with these buildings. In hindsight, I didn't need to bring that Panzer up. It was too expensive. It's too weak of a unit otherwise. And then 3 T-15s will do wonders if you have nothing but light vehicles and infantry to try and stop them. And you've been spending all your points on useless bombing runs. So I'll go ahead and take that point there. And just trying to do a little bit of a better job consolidating my... consolidating is the wrong word. Just trying to do a better job, like keeping eyes out, making sure I have the best sight lines for my units. And always double up. Always double up what I can. Got some cruise missiles coming in. I'd say right about now is when I spot them. That's why I zoom in like that. And right now, I'm probably in test mode. Right now, real-time Nolan's probably thinking, you know what? I might get fucked up, but at the same time, I kind of just want to see what this does. Well, behold. They got 1 Igla squad with that. And they got 1 supply depot. They lost the B1. And, oh, I just realized I moved that S-300. So I saw that that was coming a little sooner than when I said because I was moving the S-300 already. But definitely saw it coming. So that's why I keep my, when I'm in a position like this, that's why I keep my camera angled the way I do. Talking a little shit here. All just for a bit of fun. So that real-time Nolan is probably now thinking, okay, so he definitely has eyes on my units there. And that's why I moved the Catran around a little bit. So I would think, what's a priority target that they would be able to see? They're not going to see the infantry. They'll see the vehicles. But also, how the fuck is he seeing me? I was thinking probably I was probably thinking they could have gotten infantry behind. They could have gotten some recon squads behind. But man, they're just not gonna see that, are they? Anything that I send around is just not gonna see it. So I was probably thinking, is there a way for me to bait the shots so I can get them to just at least use up ammunition? But since I know it's coming, I just move out of the way. All of that's probably going through my head right now. And I still keep in mind that they could still run those seed runs, and I still want to try and kill the planes that they do send. So I still want my AA net up. So I keep the S-300 up. I keep the bear uses up with radar on so that they can take care of the seed. The timer isn't working. This is, and you guys that played the last test, you might have been around when this was a thing, but the timer decided to just not work. So we just got to run it out until the time ends. We know we got 45 minutes, so it's got to end at some point. So just kind of keep playing until then. Moved up F-15. Unfortunately, it's the same icon, so I don't know if it's an EX or not. And with that bombing run, with it directly on top of my vehicles, I am now certain. Real-time Nolan is now certain that he clearly had eyes on my vehicles somehow. So I think I rethink exactly where I want to put stuff. Did do a good job of getting my supplies there. It's possible that, oh, there we go. There's the Global Hawk that was just right above my teammate's line there. And can even see some Iskanders in the back there. So my teammate loses that Iskander. Now, they probably didn't see the Iskander. They probably saw the supplies with that Global Hawk, and he probably went to bomb that supply, and then ended up killing the Iskander. Now, this was a suicide plane, which I do regularly with this deck. If my teammates are being complete numbnuts and letting Global Hawks just be above them, I will suicide a plane to have that not be a thing anymore. Did that pretty often, so. The rare occasion that I would throw away a plane and have it be worth it. I was very close to having those T-15s be in the way, but there's the Panzer gone. Almost lost the S-300. So he got a Panzer and a Bear Usa on that one. Maybe an Igla squad, but that's pretty much it. So he got, what, like 30, what am I saying, 300 points probably, something like that. But we're doing a good enough job of killing their stuff that it didn't end up really putting a dent in it. We have almost double their kills and all the points. So right now, Real-Time Nolan's just not worried at all. I'm pretty sure that what I was thinking about was, other than the shit talking that's going back a little bit, all fun and games, literally. So didn't mean anything by it, but it seemed like that guy got a little bit angry. Is probably what Real-Time Nolan was thinking. But other than that, Real-Time Nolan is probably thinking, what can I get out of this? We're clearly going to win, but what can I glean from this? And I was probably thinking, can I get another clip of this T-15 taking on helicopters in close quarters? And is there something that I could have done differently? It's probably what I was doing right now. And I did see that artillery piece, so I'm probably thinking, like, go kill the artillery piece and then hope they send an Apache after me while I'm doing that. Was that game? No, that was phase 2, I guess. Those M8s against a hurt T-15, yeah, you probably have an okay chance. But I think that it's still a pretty fair fight with that T-15 if I'm able to take on one of those M8s at a time that we saw off in the distance. But what I did see off in the distance over on the right there is also another artillery unit, so I'm definitely going to try and take advantage of that. If these players, because it was definitely at least 2 players that was directly against me on the opposite side of the map here from the enemy team, had spent the points that they were spending on bombs on ground vehicles, this could have been a very different game. Specifically if they were tanks. Those VMF squads are very good against vehicles and infantry. They got nothing against tanks. So it would have needed to be my T-15s, of which I have an armored deck, so it would be a cool fight. I've got plenty of anti-tank. It would have been a cool fight, but it just would have been a way different game. Like, most of those bombing runs were completely ineffective, even though they could see stuff. So realistically, that was a best case scenario for them because they could see my supplies. They could clearly see some of my units. And they even went back to using artillery again, which did a pretty okay job of killing some supplies, but you gotta think about it. You gotta stop and think sometimes, like, what are you actually accomplishing in doing what you're doing? It's blowing up stuff, but where's the rest of the map? Or what's happening around you? Like, what's going on with the rest of the map? You don't have any points. You need to go and get those points. You don't have kills. You need to go and get some kills, not blow up supplies. Blowing up supplies is useful if you are actually gaining ground elsewhere, or if you're keeping the enemy from gaining ground. You didn't stop me from doing anything because I had enough supplies elsewhere. I was clearly still gaining ground, so obviously it was getting supplies elsewhere. And you weren't getting kills. So you gotta change up the strategy here a little bit sometimes. And even though they did have the Global Hawks hovering above my teammates, they did do a pretty good job of filling the empty space around the map, because they didn't seem to take that ground back after my T-15s rolled through. So, I think these were a bunch of newer players on the enemy team. I think this was a good showcase of how to
improved.
Use Russian armored and T-15s in an urban setting, and how to set up a proper AA net.
Do you have two? Yeah, we do. Two S300s, Vityaz, because Vityaz started working. Pantsir against helicopters, but I don't know. Still have 5 Beryusas. I'm wondering if the Beryusa is better than the Strelets in terms of interception, but it really shouldn't be, right?
I don't think it is. I probably will still end up keeping the Strelets when I play again.
A little too late there on the end there, Chief.
True. So yeah, major takeaways. Major takeaways. I'm pausing it from my point of view, real-time point of view. The major takeaways from that was effective use of limited T-15, aka armored vehicles, to push through an urban setting, because they had plenty of infantry. They had stuff there. But my VMF with their 50 cals chewed them up. And then whatever was left, the T-15s chewed them up. But it's because I used them in the right way. Kept them behind cover when possible. When they needed to be rearmed or repaired, I moved them back to rearm and repair. Lots of smoke, lots of cover, lots of angling, and proper support in the back. So don't let them just fly above you. Have some AA in the back. Because once that S-300 was up, they didn't want to send those planes anymore because they were going to get one shot. So it was actually, even though those were definitely newer players on the other team, they weren't completely ineffective, and it ended up being a solid showcase of how to properly set up your defenses and how to properly, take ground. So I think this was a good example of a game where I can do this kind of commentary over it. What I'm worried about are the more complex games where things are a bit crazier. Am I going to be able to commentate in a way that's going to be useful information for you guys, basically, you guys that are watching? Be a bit interesting. I think we've got enough time that I'm probably just going to do it anyway. But what I really want to know is, what did you guys get out of this? Was this useful to you? Did this gleam more? Me talking over it, did this gleam more than if you just watched the gameplay? Which you can still do, by the way. It's a fight under the shade, or fight in the shade, something like that. Which is just a straight gameplay. No talking at all until the end, towards the end there. So please, leave me your feedback, guys. Like I said at the beginning, I really want to try and perfect a teaching method and or system before the actual release of this game, so that I can be the most effective as I possibly can at teaching people how to Broken Arrow. So it's going to take some trial and error. This is one of those trials. Let me know if it was an error. That's pretty much it, guys. Otherwise, you guys know the drill. Sub for more. Like if you did. Comment what you think, especially if it's that feedback. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I also hope you have a nice day. See you guys.